Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into, well, a really fascinating story. It's quite an emotional journey, actually.
It really is. You brought this one to my attention, 22 years of personal journals.
Yeah, from a seasonal RV camper, Barbara Olson, who became this article, RV Camping with Nature's Betrayal. Quite a title.
It is, published in Consumption Markets and Culture. And, you wanted to get the essence, the core insights from all that experience, quickly but thoroughly.
Exactly. Understand what 2 decades of this life reveals about us, nature, and technology, specifically RVs.
Right. Getting that concentrated knowledge without sifting through everything yourself.
So our mission today, unpack the emotional roller coaster and what she calls the nature harmony paradox.
Mm-hmm. That contradiction. Using tech to get back to nature.
Precisely. We're expecting some, well, maybe some surprising facts, some aha moments about the real challenges. It's not just picturesque sunsets, is it?
Not even close, it seems. Okay, so where does Olson's story really begin for her?
Well, it starts with a dream, right? This romantic vision of RV camping, getting back to something simpler, nature-connected.
And you mentioned her childhood played a part, something about living in a garage.
Yeah, for several years, apparently. Quite rustic. You can sort of see how that might seed this longing later on.
Definitely. But then there's this immediate friction, isn't there? This social awareness.
Oh, absolutely. She anticipates her husband saying, oh no, now we're trailer trash.
Wow. Right out of the gate.
Yeah, it highlights that stigma, doesn't it? That kind of class thing associated with RVs. It clearly bothered her, especially given her background.
It shows how our dreams get filtered through what society thinks, or what we think society thinks.
And that anxiety connects straight to the practical side. Her first RV, a 1987 Sunline Satellite.
Okay.
And at first, it seems like the dream. You know, the campground, the swimming hole, seeing wildlife.
That initial enchantment, the purchase, feeling like, yes, this is it.
Totally. But it's brief, very brief.
Problems start creeping in.
Almost immediately. Little things first. A loose thermocouple.
Okay, that's like a safety sensor for the heating, right? Can cause issues if it's faulty.
Exactly. Already showing how tech failures disrupt things.
Yeah.
And then the mice, early encounters.
The beginning of the mice saga.
Very beginning. And it's interesting, she quickly develops these, like, departure rituals.
Rituals for leaving the RV.
Yeah, detailed processes, draining tanks, turning things off, checking vents. She says it was about controlling anxiety.
Anxiety about what specifically?
Pollution, contamination, like this feeling that the RV, this manufactured bubble in nature, was just inherently vulnerable.
Trying to maintain control over this fragile space. Makes sense.
And that vulnerability just escalates, especially with the mice in that first RV, the Sunlight.
It gets worse.
Oh, yeah. It gets so bad she calls it the mouse house.
The mouse house. Okay, that paints a picture. Your space just feeling overrun.
Completely. And her efforts to fight back, mothballs, poison, bleach, it really highlights that tension.
Right. Wanting nature, but waging chemical war against nature.
You know, it's like, what kind of harmony is that? You know, are the tools undermining the goal?
It's trying to create a very specific, sanitized version of nature inside the RV walls.
Exactly. So eventually, the mouse house is just too much. She and her husband decide to upgrade.
A new RV, maybe fewer problems.
That's the hope. They get a 1990 Prowler. Fresh start.
But knowing this story, the relief probably doesn't last long.
Not at all. The Prowler brings its own swift surprises.
Like what?
A toilet leak, a hole in the roof, which of course leads to water damage, and mildew.
So the pattern starts, hope, then new problems.
Absolutely. It becomes this cycle. Fix one thing, another pops up. Mold in the fridge this time. Mold on pillows.
Oh, gross. It sounds exhausting, like pushing a rock uphill.
It does. That constant repair followed by a new invasion, it feels almost relentless.
And you see her approach changing slightly then.
Yeah, she starts investing in prevention. Gets a mildew and mold prevention heater.
Yeah. So shifting from just reacting to trying to anticipate, to control the environment more proactively.
Right. But even with all this hassle, there's still these moments.
Glimmers of the original dream.
Exactly. Seeing a bear, kayaking near swans, these intense connections with nature keep happening.
That must be what keeps her going, that powerful pull of the wild despite the RV nightmare.
I think so. It shows the appeal indoors. But eventually, the Prowler's roof leaks are just too persistent.
So what happens?
They decide to total it. But she frames it almost positively, like, okay, potential for change now.
Resilience, not giving up on the core idea yet, just the specific RV.
Which brings us to the next chapter. trying luxury.
Oh, moving up market.
Yep, a brand new, high-tech 2002 Coachman Catalina, all the modern stuff. You think, okay, this time.
This has got to be it. New, modern, fewer problems baked in, hopefully.
You'd hope, but almost immediately. A significant leak.
On a brand new RV. Oh, the disappointment must have been huge.
She writes about really questioning the whole country lifestyle at that point. Like, how much can one person take?
You really feel that cumulative frustration building, don't you?
Totally. The thing meant for comfort is causing intense stress.
Yeah.
And it gets worse.
Oh.
More leaks, and then fungi growing in the walls.
Oh, no.
Our journal entry just says gross in caps. And she starts thinking about illness, health impacts.
Okay, that shifts things, doesn't it? It's not just annoying anymore. It feels unsafe, unhealthy, a violation.
Exactly. That visceral disgust, the worry. It's a deeper level of betrayal, almost.
And repairs don't work.
Failed attempts.
No.
So what do? They trade up. Again.
Wow. To what this time?
A Sunnybrook Titan.
Yeah.
You just get this sense of weary resignation reading it, like, okay, round 4.
You really follow her through this emotional ringer.
And the Sunnybrook years, they actually start okay.
Really? A break in the pattern.
For the first 3 summers, she describes them as perfect. Finally, some harmony. You can just imagine the relief.
Finally feeling like the dream was achievable.
For a while. But inevitably.
The battle resumes.
Oh, yes. The mice are back. Even with newer deterrents like cedar chips.
They always find a way, don't they?
Apparently. And there's this one incident. She describes finding massive diarrhea from the mice.
Oh my God. Okay, that's graphic and really drives home the invasion aspect.
It certainly does. Very unpleasant. And then the mold comes back. Big time.
Not again. After the perfect years.
Yep. She talks about feeling violated, heartbroken, finding mold on her clothes, her linens.
Yeah.
It feels very personal.
I can imagine. It's not just the structure. It's your personal belongings, your safe space.
And the cycle of cleaning starts again. Toxic stuff, Clorox, Lysol, they install a dehumidifier. It's this constant, exhausting fight.
She's trying to hold back nature from reclaiming this metal box.
And she reflects on it herself.
Yeah.
Calls it the insanity of doing the same thing, expecting different results.
That self-awareness is powerful,
Right.
recognizing the pattern.
Yeah, she talks about the emotional pit, the emotional roller coaster. The toll is really clear.
It sounds like this hobby became a major source of stress.
Hugely.
Yeah.
But still, those moments of connection with nature kept happening. Brief respites.
That enduring pull. It's amazing it lasted so long.
It really is. But the leaks continue, even in the Sunnybrook. And then in 2016, there's this final realization about just how bad the mouse infestation still is.
The breaking point.
Seems like it. It triggers this real desire to just leave RV life behind completely.
After all those years.
Yep. So in 2017, they finally sell the Sunnybrook.
How did that feel for her?
Complex. She writes about feeling liberated, but also sad, end of an era, but ready for a new country life, crucially, without the RV.
Wow. What a journey. 22 years condensed like that. It really highlights her central point, doesn't it?
The nature-harmony paradox.
Absolutely.
The gear we use to get to nature.
Ends up complicating it or even betraying the whole purpose. The RV becomes the problem, not the solution.
Right. It's not just faulty RVs, though that's part of it. It's this fundamental challenge, trying to engineer an experience with something wild.
Exactly. And it connects to that idea. Researchers talk about the dark side of place attachment.
How so?
Well, you love a place, right? Like her campground, her RV space. But when it constantly causes problems, stress, disappointment, that cherished place turns sour.
Like your favorite cafe messing up your coffee every single day. Eventually you stop loving it.
Precisely. The place becomes a source of frustration, not joy. She definitely experienced that.
And she uses that concept. Bartha's shadow. How does that fit in?
It's about the unspoken stuff between the lines in her journals. Rereading them revealed deeper emotions tied to the past.
Like what?
Like remembering having to kill her pet chickens as a child. She connects that feeling of loss, maybe forced departure, to the sadness of losing each RV, even though they were problematic.
Wow. So the RV failures weren't just inconvenient. They tapped into this older, deeper pain.
That's the idea. It adds another layer to her intense emotional responses. It wasn't just about mice and leaks. It was echoing past traumas.
She also compares herself to other campers.
Yeah.
Sees differences.
Yeah, she notes others experience transformation through nature, like her, but their tolerance for, well, the downside seemed higher sometimes.
Like maybe they didn't mind the mice quite as much. Or accepted the leaks more readily?
Perhaps, or maybe her specific experiences were just exceptionally bad. It raises questions about individual thresholds, expectations. What are we willing to put up with for that nature connection?
And her own environmental awareness. That shifts too.
It does. She initially saw herself as really assimilated, deeply connected, respectful of nature.
Uh,
But her actions, like resorting to all those poisons and harsh chemicals against the mice and mold, she reflects that it was more relational.
uh,
Meaning her immediate needs, get rid of the pests, fix the problem, now sometimes overrode a broader ecological concern. Convenience versus ideals.
that feels very relatable, actually. A conflict many people probably face in different ways.
And it wasn't just the RVs causing disillusionment. The campground itself changed.
How so?
It got noisier, less tranquil over the years. The very peace she sought was eroding.
Right. So it's not just a personal battle. The context matters too. The social environment, the shared space.
Exactly. That nature harmony paradox isn't just person versus nature tech. It's also about the place and the people in it.
And she connects her experience to bigger consumer issues too, right? Product failure.
Yes, definitely. The constant breakdowns, the feeling that maybe RVs aren't built to last, planned obsolescence perhaps.
The endless need for maintenance, repair. It speaks to that wider frustration many consumers feel with products today.
Yeah, it makes you think about that call from researchers like Appadurai and Alexander for a culture of repair.
Resisting the throwaway cycle, the endless choice of just buying new when something breaks.
In a way, her constant attempts to repair, even when they failed, could be seen as pushing back against that, couldn't they? Even if it was exhausting.
It's an interesting perspective, a kind of personal, often frustrating resistance.
So wrapping this deep dive up, Olson's story, these 22 years, they really lay bare the complexities. The contradictions in trying to find harmony with nature using complex technology, it's messy.
Yeah, definitely not the simple romantic dream. It's struggle, frustration, constant battles against nature's intrusions and against failing products.
And the aha moment, maybe, is that sharp clash. The dream of easy immersion versus the reality of endless upkeep, pests, decay.
It really mirrors that wider tension, doesn't it, between our tech expectations and the wildness of nature.
It does. Which leads to a really provocative thought for everyone listening.
Consider your own ways of connecting with nature, especially if they involve manufactured gear or planned experiences.
What are the hidden challenges, the emotional currents maybe you haven't noticed?
Are we really achieving harmony?
Yeah.
Or is it more of a negotiation, sometimes a frustrating one?
It's a great question to sit with. And if this whole topic, autoethnography, consumer failure, human-nature relationships fascinates you.
Definitely check out Barbara Olson's original article, or dig into related research in consumer culture, environmental studies. There's so much more there.
Absolutely. A lot to think about.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.